Welcome to the Gender Shite News Review, the only news report where we call men men, women women, and where pronouns reflect reality. This is part 2 of our January roundup. And hold on to your seats, it's gonna get grim.
A woman is an adult human female.
Gay men don't have vaginas!
He's a man!
In part 1, we looked at balls on the golf course, men cutting their balls off. Now it's time to look at corporate bollocks. Network Rail unveiled their Pride column at London Bridge to celebrate LGBTQIANBP2 as what the fuck plus month and to show just how inclusive they are. However, they appear to have suffered from a virtue signal failure, as the picture they posted of the pillar features 5 white men. This, by the way, is the same company that back in 2020 removed an I Love J.K. Rowling poster for being too political. One of the men behind the column, or rather blocking it out, is Shane Andrews, MBE. Social media users were quick to point out his rather colourful history of calling women sluts, bitches, cunts, and adult whores, as well as making unsavory remarks about them being raped. So, in case you're wondering what MBE stands for, in the case of Shane, that would be misogynistic bellend. Ironically, he was one of the judges on the Women in Rail Awards. He has since stepped down from this role as he is now being investigated by the company, and he has also taken down his profile on X. At the sight of all these flags, some exasperated people have commented by saying, "I just want the train to run on time," which was swiftly branded as a fascist dog whistle by a self-described stupid fuck of a drag queen. Network Rail have so far not announced any plans to unveil a similar column for groups with disabilities, even though they may well be most in need of practical support in accessing train services. Neither is there a column in the planning for mental health, despite hundreds of suicides on the network each year. But I guess their flags just aren't sexy enough. Not to be outdone, Australian brand Rip Curl have dropped a female surfer from their ad campaigns after she criticized men from taking part in women's surfing.
The World Surf League has officially made the rule that male-bodied individuals known as transgender athletes can officially compete in the women's division. This concerns me as a professional athlete that has been competing in the World Surf League events for the past 15 plus years.
Bethany Hamilton, who lost one arm during a shark attack but was back on her surfing board 4 weeks after, had partnered with the brand for 20 years before being dumped. And just to stick the knife in, Rip Curl then released an ad featuring Sasha Lowerson, a man with a love of lace and lipstick. Sasha had previously won in the men's category as Ryan Egan, but then his inner Shania got the better of him and he decided to start stealing women's titles. And as with so many of these fetishistic men, he sees no problem with that at all.
I know I'm a woman and I know I deserve to be in the women's.
I don't know what made Rip Curl think that it was a good idea to use this guy, because he truly is beyond parody. But we'll give it a go. Here he is, getting his knob out on the beach. Understandably, there was public outrage and the hashtag boycott Rip Curl trended solidly for 2 days. Rip Curl quickly pulled the ad and replaced it with another featuring actual women, because they damn well know who the women are. The feminist Greens, however, don't. They've just elected Seb Cousins, another man with a love of lipstick, as their coordinator. Because the best woman for the job is, of course, a man. So, here's a little reminder for the feminist Greens.
A woman is a woman and a man is a man. A woman is a woman and a man is a man. You can try to pretend that you don't understand, but a woman is a woman and a man is a man.
Healthcare. The World Health Organization has faced significant criticism over the appointment of a panel that is meant to draw up the organization's first ever guidelines on so-called trans and gender diverse healthcare. Details of the panel were released last year just before Christmas, with an opportunity for the public to respond by the 8th of January. A host of organizations and individuals, including a UN Special Rapporteur, were quick to point out that the panel was rather biased, consisting mainly of people banging the woo-woo drum, like Florence Ashley, who uses they, them, that bitch pronouns and believes that surgeries and hormones should be available on demand so that distressed teenagers can treat their bodies as a gendered art piece. Criticism was also aimed at the unusually short time frame to provide feedback and how this included the Christmas holidays, and the fact that the panel will use the guidelines to make a global case for self-ID. So healthcare here is just used as a cloak to push for the legal recognition of nonsensical identities around the world, which is none of the World Health Organization's business. A petition for the WHO to basically go back to the drawing board gathered nearly 12,000 signatures. In response, that bitch was dropped from the panel. The deadline for feedback was extended until the 2nd of February, and it was clarified that any guidelines would only apply to adults, not children and adolescents. But it's pretty clear that this whole project is nothing but an ideological push for gender woo that any sane country should wholly reject. Talking of countries wisening up to the quackery of so-called gender-affirming care, the Dutch Parliament has recently voted for its National Health Council to investigate whether medical interventions for minors who can't accept their own sex is up to scratch. This follows systemic evidence reviews in Finland, Sweden and the UK, which have all shown that the evidence base for these interventions is seriously lacking. It is significant that the Netherlands is now looking at this, as this is the very birthplace of the idea that sex-distressed children need to be prevented from going through puberty. This has become known as the Dutch Protocol and was quickly adopted by other countries. As a Dutchman myself, I'm afraid this was an even worse Dutch export than to Unlimited. Although that is quite a fitting anthem for anything gender. Over in the States, Ohio isn't quite so keen to go Dutch. Last year, a bill banning the medicalization of sex-distressed minors passed in both the Ohio House and the Ohio Senate, but was then vetoed by the state's governor. In January, both the House and the Senate then vetoed his veto, so it will now become law this coming April. It also bans male students from competing in women's sporting categories. Go, 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 Ohio. Less common sense can be seen in Scotland, where the government has just published its proposals to ban so-called conversion practices aimed at changing or suppressing someone's sexual orientation, or, and this is where the madness creeps in, a person's so-called gender identity. The proposals are alarming. Not only would they code the quasi-religious idea of gender identity into law, but it would have to be treated as if it were fact, and one that cannot be denied or questioned. The proposed ban seeks to even criminalize what it calls directed conversations. So if an autistic girl wants to wear a binder, but her mother says, no, you can't, it's bad for your health, then the mother could potentially face charges if the girl then claims that she's been psychologically harmed. Similarly, a young guy might tell his father, Dad, I'm actually a girl. And the father then, aware that his son has experienced homophobic bullying in school, might say, no, son, you're just gay, and that's okay. If the son then claims to be psychologically harmed by that exchange, again, his father could face charges. It's unclear how anyone who doesn't subscribe to the idea of gender identity could ever have a fair trial if accused, when the court and the jury would be bound by law to treat gender identity as an incontrovertible fact. The Scottish Government's proposals are now up for consultation, and you've got until the 2nd of April to send in your feedback. As if that wasn't enough gender madness, now it's time to look at those things that never happen. If you're having a glass of wine or gin or beer, now is the time to top up. Let's go! Wales. Penny Griffiths, a 64-year-old cross-dressing man who claims to be a woman, was caught in a pedophile sting. He'd taken photos and videos of his knob and sent them to what he believed to be was a 14-year-old girl, but what was in fact a local group of volunteers working to catch sexual predators.
You sent pictures of you dressed as Penny with your penis out, and you sent a video of you dressed as Penny and you pan down and you show her your penis. Do you think that's right to do that to a 14-year-old child?
He has previously been involved in a child pornography ring. But this never happens, right? England. Samantha Norris, a 56-year-old man who claims to be a woman, has been charged with exposing his penis to two 11-year-old girls as they walked past his window, because obviously that's the most ladylike thing to do. Both the media and the court refer to him as she and talk about her penis. He denies the charges and the trial continues. Also in England, a 29-year-old convicted male pedophile who claims to be a woman has been given more jail time after he was caught grooming 13 and 14-year-old girls via a fake Facebook profile, posing as a young male teenager. Jamie Waller, who now wants to be called Abby, previously served half of a 5-year sentence for child sex offences. Within months of being released, he was back behind bars for breaching a sexual harm prevention order and given 6 months. Further convictions mean his sentence has now been extended by another 3.5 years. The court referred to him as she, her, and his defense barrister asked the judge to consider Jamie's magical lady feels when sentencing. And one more in England, 45-year-old Martin Tarling, another bloke who claims to be a woman and now goes by Abby Taylor, has appeared in court and pleaded not guilty to a host of charges, including interacting with soiled nappies in a bin in sight of the public. He also pleaded not guilty to breaching a court order for him to stay away from nurseries. He is currently out on bail and due to stand trial in March. Scotland. Adam Miller, the 54-year-old cross-dressing butcher sentenced to 20 years in jail for abducting and sexually assaulting a child below the age of 13, has tried to get his sentence reduced on the grounds of him living as a woman. The judge found the argument of, "Yes, I assaulted her, but I wore a dress," not particularly convincing and rejected the appeal. America. Kelly McShawn, a violent male sex offender and pedophile who claims to be a woman and has been a sex offender since the age of 13, has filed multiple lawsuits complaining that his identity as a woman is not being respected at the county jail where he is currently being held. He claims he's been misgendered and that he hasn't been provided gender-affirming items such as women's knickers. His state and prison documentation lists him as female. Also in America, Angel Anderson, a 41-year-old man who claims to be a woman, and a 52-year-old man called Gerald Rowe have been found guilty of the gruesome torture, rape, and murder of a 23-year-old man. After hours of abuse, they injected their victim with a lethal dose of drugs, put him in a suitcase and drowned him in the San Francisco Bay. They will be sentenced on the 18th of March. Angel will most likely be housed in the female estate. In California, since January 2021, 358 males have requested transfer to the women's prison, a third of whom are sex offenders. And Canada, Sean Gravels, the president of the North Peace Pride Society, has been arrested and charged with sexual interference of a child, sexual exploitation, and possession and distribution of child pornography. The LGBT plus activist group organizes all ages drag shows and has been led by Sean for 18 years. Right, I'm getting pretty tired of all this bullshit, but we have one more news segment to go for January 2024. Celebrity sellouts. Davina McCall, TV presenter and fitness guru, started 2024 by interviewing a woman called Kenny, who believes to be a man. Kenny spent a good hour talking absolute rubbish, saying that puberty blockers are reversible and that plants are queer.
I did research the other day, I was talking about the fact that plants are queer, in the sense that there's so many different plants they can change sex.
Yeah, like this gender fluid cyclamen right here. This morning it was a they, them, theirs. This evening it's a ze, zer, zim. So much queerness in a pot. Ooh. It was quite bizarre to see Davina, who's written a best-selling book about the menopause, sort of casually brush aside the fact that so many women like Kenny may well go through the menopause in their 20s or their 30s as a direct result of their medical interventions. All she did was go,
"It's so interesting."
At one point, Davina asked,
Obviously, there's been an explosion of trans kids. How can that suddenly have happened?
"It's because of celebs like you, Davina, platforming this kind of nonsense without any form of thinking." Alan Cumming, the Scottish gay actor, has said in an interview that people should be up in arms about UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak supposedly denying the existence of trans people. All Rishi had said was this:
"We shouldn't get bullied into believing that people can be any sex they want to be. They can't. A man is a man and a woman is a woman. That's just common sense."
"How dare he," said Ellen, while brushing aside concerns over single-sex spaces and the record number of children thinking they're in the wrong body as not being real issues. Ironically, within the same breath, Alan then went on to talk about people being obsessed with staying young and said,
"And what happens? We get people who are 82 thinking they're 35.
"Yes, and how is that any different to a man saying he's a lesbian?" Okay, last ones. Jodie Foster and her wife Alex Hedison have teamed up to make a short film about narcissistic gender clown Alok Menon. Alok is just a hairy bloke who likes to wear dresses and makeup and who believes that girls can be kinky. For some reason, Jodie and Alex think he's some kind of prophet of authenticity.
Alok invites me and all of us to unfold, to become as much of ourselves as possible and to continue changing over time.
The beauty of the piece is that it really is about all of us transforming all the time.
Both of them can't seem to stop fawning over this guy. The film also features professional parody of girlhood Dylan Mulvaney. It was shown at the Sundance Film Festival and was nominated for the short film Grand Jury Prize. Alok likes to think of it as a feminist film because obviously there's nothing more feminist than a film about a bloke. Personally, I prefer this feminist take on the man.
Look, just fuck off, Alok.
And there you have it, the Gender Shite Review, January 2024. Just a reminder that all these stories are real, I haven't made any of them up, and there's probably plenty that I haven't included. So if anyone ever says, "How does it affect you? Live and let live," I hope that this review shows just how much of an impact all this gender shite is having around the world in all spheres of life. And it's in mad times like this that it's important that we anchor ourselves in reality. So let's all take a deep breath in and out. And remind ourselves that a woman is a woman, a man is a man, and the rest is just madness. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall see you in the February Gender Shite Review. Until then, let's keep it real and keep smiling. Ciao!
A woman is a woman and a man is a man. A woman is a woman and a man is a man. You can try to pretend that you don't understand, but a woman is a woman and a man is a man.
Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my PayPal and Patreon supporters. Because of you, I can make videos like this. Special shout out to my big spenders. Helper Open, Mama Turv and the Turventines, me Julie, the lovely Mary, Julia, Dusty, Judels, Leffy, Dorothy, Wildfire, Esther, and Martha. Thank you.